Hello everybody, our airline's name is Air Comfy. I am Prakash Josh, I am leader and the CEO. Raghav Tulsan is our finance manager. Amirman Tuladar is our operations manager. Nupur Porajuli is our HR manager, and Kumar Silva is our marketing manager. To begin the presentation, I would start off with a quote. Failure is simple. The opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. We consider ourselves a failure because at the end of quarter 9, we still have a negative cumulative loss of 200,000. We did face we did cover up 1.5 million of negative losses, but still, at the end of quarter 9, we are still at loss. So we consider ourselves a failure. And this presentation would be through the journey on how we turn our losses into opportunities, into profits. So I would like to start off with Nupur Parajuri. She will be explaining the mission vision.
Starting with our company's vision, values and direction. Our mission is to provide a highly reliable luxury service for moving people from one place to another and transforming the way people fly by making them feel cozy when they travel with us. According to Henry Ford, a business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. Now, our vision is to provide the best luxury service to our customers so as to become the leading luxury airline in the next 10 years. We could do that by providing them the highest service quality and reliability, consistent growth trend over the industry average, high employee satisfaction rate and lower employee turnover, zero major accidents, and the reputation of the trusted airline partner for our customers, clients and shareholders. Now, our direction is, moving on to our direction, our airline gives emphasis to females and marginalized groups. However, in doing so, we still look for the best candidates. Here we can see priority but not over quality. By taking an example of quarter 7, continuing with our trend of promoting females in quarter 7, we were confronted with a tough decision. There were two women that had applied. One was a middle-aged minority woman who had worked for another bankrupt airline but had good credentials, and we had an internal female who had few of those technical skills required and would have to be trained to a minimum level. This was also an opportunity for us to promote an internal staff. Moreover, promoting someone within our company means they will know our company's vision, values and mission. Whilst promoting the minority group, women might have sounded better. We at the same time cannot compromise on quality. In our eyes, our existing staff understand our client and their requirements and therefore should be given the upper hand. Now our overall strategy, reflecting from quarter 1 to 9, according to Professor Henry Mintzberg and Waters, they came out with this framework which explains our approach. I would also like to draw upon Sumterian perspective. In our first 4 quarters, we pursued an experimentation strategy. Experimentation from an Sumterian perspective is also known as to be radical. Radical steps are often associated with high risk and high gains and is well reflected with our first 4 quarters where we did not seem to do well. However, we switched to exploitation strategy, realizing from our mistakes in past 4 quarters. And although we intended to be radical, we realized that we had to indeed be incremental and improvise on our mistakes. Our intended strategy was to be radical, but realized strategy turned out to be incremental. We also used top management model where head of every department came together to make every decisions, and they gave their views and perspective through the lens of their department, which made our decision more efficient. Now I would like to call Amir.
Thank you, Nupur, for clarifying the mission, vision and the direction. Next up, I will be talking about the overall industry context before we head up to analyze our performance. Starting with the industry overview, basically in the airline industry simulation, there were 3 airlines, and those came under discount airlines, normal airlines, and luxury airlines. These are the major players, and these are the major airlines in each of the categories. And under the luxury airlines, we were one of the players. Air Comfy and Falcon Airways was our major competitor. So in industry analysis, Porter in 1979 identified 5 forces model of competition, which are the threat of new entrants, bargaining power bias, bargaining power of supplies, and threat of substitutes. These forces will be analyzed with our industry context. First off, with the threat of new entrants. The threat of new entrants in our industry simulation could be said to be high because because there was no significant barrier to entry. Any market could be entered, and airlines could change their routes at any quarter. For example, you can look at the new markets being acquired by companies. They started serving different markets. Similarly, acquisition and disposables, companies acquired different aircrafts, and this was basically due to the low initial capital required. Companies could take airlines under lease. And this was the route coverage in Q1. All the airlines had specific routes given to them. However, in Q9, all the airlines extended their arms towards all the different routes. Similarly, the bargaining power of buyers. The bargaining power of buyers could be said to be high because the customers were the ultimate reason for our industry, and they had low switching costs, and this resulted in price warfare and also lesser customer loyalty, which resulted in intense competition. The high bargaining power of buyers resulted in constant changes in fares. This is the overall fares across the industry in Q1 and in Q9. In Q1, Air Comfy, our company had 51 cents of fares with an excellent service. Similarly, in Q9, we provided the same service but at a lower cost. So this is one of our strategies. Similarly, the threat of substitutes is a medium risk level because other than aircrafts, customers will either go to cars, trains, buses, ships, and this low cost from alternatives might lure away some of our customers. The bargaining power of suppliers. The bargaining powers of suppliers similarly could be said to be low because in our airline context, there was only fuel contractor was the only supplier, and we only had the option to choose under these 3 options. The rivalry among competitors existed in all fields, starting with the marketing. The marketing department, you can look at the industry averages in Q1. It was 0.6 salespeople. Similarly, the promotion budget was 2,813 and the advertising budget of 2,088. However, in Q9, it increased to industry average of 3.4, $38,438 and $53,500. This is a brief overview of the quality and training budgets across the industries. The blue dots is our company 7, Air Comfy. We had a very low start in the initial stages, but as quarters passed by, we were able to have one of the top quality and training budgets at the end of Q9. Similarly, the stock prices. This gives an overview of the overall industry, what happened during all the 9 quarters at the end of the quarters. Air Comfy, our stock prices declined at Q3. However, we were able to increase our stock prices, which the performance measures will be analyzed later on the slides. Similarly, the net profit and the stock and the quality and industry budgets. Now, next up, I would like to call upon Paket to do the analysis of performance.
As my colleague Amir has explained the intensity of the competition within the industry, I would like to show some of the competitive advantage that we gained from our core competencies. The generic strategy we used was a focus strategy from the beginning. We targeted the luxury market, giving luxury perks and luxury pricing to the luxury clients, which he explained earlier. One of our unique capabilities was that we were able to realize our mistakes and capitalize on these opportunities. Daniel Carnegie once said that the successful man will profit from his mistakes and try again in a different way. That's exactly what we did. As Nupur explained earlier, we changed our strategy from the huge losses. We changed our strategies, we increased our competencies. To check our competitive advantage, we're going to put our competencies through the VRI framework. Value. We provided luxury airline consistency from the beginning with our state-of-the-art fleet and services. As you can see, the fleet of our airline, Embraer, SAB, Embraer, Canada, Embraer, these are all luxury planes, which are specifically for the luxury market. We didn't go for the normal aircrafts or the discount aircrafts. We had skilled crew. We provide in-flight magazines with level 3 maintenance. Rarity. We had implemented a dynamic strategy, and our decisions would adhere to our results. For example, we had changed various markets in just 3 quarters, and when we changed these markets, we can see the result in our passenger load. It increased dramatically. We were also surprised from these results. We were able to increase 20% of our passenger load as we switched planes. Previously, we had owned a Canadair, a 50-seater aircraft, to a Embraer, a 37-seater aircraft, which was a sizably smaller aircraft and much efficient. So we were able to increase our passenger load from 20% from switching the aircraft, which is rare in the industry. This is the passenger load figure of how it declined and then increased when we started switching planes. Immutability, reliability. Reliability was one of our major competencies, technically as well as financially. This is the technical figure of the reliability within the industry. Even during our worst times, during quarter second and quarter fourth, we were still above the industry average. So we were not compromising on reliability. We were training our staff, we were maintaining our fleets. And another reliable was we can see from our debt to equity ratio. A debt to equity ratio shows how much does a company have in debt in order to finance its assets. As you can see, in the previous quarters, we had a very atrocious debt to equity ratio. But as on, we were able to decline our debt to equity ratio below the industry average. Similarly, in the current ratio, we were able to increase our current ratio from our atrocious period above the industry average. This was because we were leasing all our aircrafts. Our losses was that we were not able to own our aircraft because we didn't have a line of credit and we were not able to take out loans. But we were leasing our aircraft, resulting a lower debt to equity ratio, which provided an opportunity for better finances. Another is non-substitutability. We provide employee satisfaction among all of the competitors in the industry. We were the first to provide 20% of profit for sharing of 20% of profits for managers as well as pilots. We were the first to implement in this industry, and then our rivals started using this. This was done because of the employee turnover. There was a massive employee turnover in the previous quarters, but which we were able to decrease to zero. With the increase in quality and training budget and the compensation policy, we had gained a core competency of loyal employees. Now on to Raghav for the performance results.
Now I would like to reflect on the performance results of our company. With the help of the balance scorecard, which was once in 1996 Kaplan and Norton compiled, there are 4 major factors that comprise of the balance scorecard. Internal factors was to reduce operating costs, company income to 75% of gross revenue, and reduce account payables, miscellaneous expenses, and better decision on fuel. The fuel being one of the most major factors, as operating costs and accounts payable. You can see that after quarter 3 we tried to decrease it. The next factor was financial factors to generate profit, through net profit, increase in revenue, where we were to increase the profit 30% of profit per seat mile available. So as the graphs over here, the advertising budget and promotion budget increased after quarter 3, which also increased our net profit and our profit per available seat mile. The next factor was customer. The high customer satisfaction was needed as our passenger load increased, through which our net profit and quality and reliability of the company also increased after quarter 2, which was very low. Learning and growth was one of the major factors, as it was to acquire more markets and grab more customers. So these figures are of a decision from quarter 4 and quarter 10. As you can see that the routes that the market we entered in quarter 4 were much more than in quarter 10. So we reduced our markets in quarter 10, which also related in high profit and high learning. The graph on the left hand side shows that, the right hand side shows that return on sales was much more less than the industry average during quarter 2, which increased slowly after quarter 3, and so consider as the stock price too. Next, for performance.
So in the performance diagnosis, we will be looking at the major quarters where we had massive losses. For example, the second quarter. So what are the reasons for all the downfall? The first reason is that we set a fare price of 51 cents, but we didn't provide any luxury perks, which defied our core competencies. Minimum advertisement promotion budget, we had only 2 aircrafts and serving only 3 markets, which was defying again our core competencies, leading to a decline in our competitive advantage. As you can see the figure in quarter 2, the cumulative loss had reached 1.4 million. In the quarter 3, it had reached the highest of 1.7 million. So these 4 quarters were atrocious for us. And from the quarter 5 onwards, we had started bringing change inside the organization. The changes were that we disposed of the larger aircraft, decreasing our operating expenses, leased another Embraer and SAP, making our fleet much more efficient, decreasing the maintenance costs, and increasing our profits. In a sound manner, we increased all our budgets. We used a more incremental strategy rather than a radical change. We started sharing 20% of profits with the employees. We focused on only 5 markets. Before we used to switch out through markets, different R markets, different A markets, different B markets, but we focused on specific R&F markets and our markets within our own hub. But we are proud to say, even if we are failure, that we are a debt-free company. We paid off all our loans. There's the deliberate strategy and the realized strategy between incremental change and radical change. As you can see in the figure, it's a basic figure. This is the demand graph, and according to demand graph, our cash declined and increased, our profits declined and increased, our revenues and costs declined and increased. The results of the change was that the return on equity again declined and increased, gross profit margin kept on increasing. This is quite surprising for us because even during times of bad profits, our gross margin was still high. The yield per average seat mile increase, the price to earning ratio was highest during the quarter 4. This is the time we are at the change of our inside our company. Now I would like to call on Kumar Siva for diagnosis of a critical incident.
Thank you, Prakhat. Now I'm going to talk about the diagnosis of one critical incident. And now it's actually, we chose to do the dual designate because we felt that it was the perfect case for us to be involved with the company. So first, we decided not to take the opportunity to do the dual designate as a major carrier because we decided to continue as an independent operation with use of the computer-aided techniques to modify the ability to connect with the major carrier flights. So we decided not to do the dual designate because it was a profitable company, so that there would have been more chance of generating the higher profits. And as well as our cumulative net profits, whatever we had, would have been covered in the long run as well. So if we had accepted the offer, it would have been more advantageous for our company as well. So now, from this figure, it's clear that we had a very high measure of EPS during the quarter 6, and the case this dual designate came exactly during the quarter 6. And thus our EPS was of 3.08 in quarter 6, and we decided not to do the dual designate because we wanted to operate as an independent airline company, and we didn't want to change our identity, so that the loss that we suffered in second quarter was to be covered within that would fit within our vision, mission and goals of our company. And as well as the cumulative net profit that we had also would be covered at the faster rate as well. And even our cumulative net profit was constantly increasing after quarter 6. So even although we decided not to do the dual designate, our net profit was at a higher rate, so it was not a bad decision for our company as well. And according to Topman, in 1969, used the model for the team decision making, where it basically categorized into the 4 phases. The first one was forming phase, and followingly storming, norming, and finally performing. And in our case, Amir, Raghav, and Prakhat decided not to do the dual designate, whereas me and Nupur decided to do the dual designate, as it would be easier to enter to the new market, and as there was huge intense competition at the market, it would be more wise to spend more on marketing promotion as well as in the budget as well. So due to this process, our theory was a complete failure, as we had not been able to do the dual designate case. So this was one of the core critical cases for us. So now I'd like to call Prakhat.
So about our future plans and conclusion, according to the demand, we would like to implement a blue ocean strategy, increase our sources internally, and improve through feedback, knowledge of loans and leases. This was one of the biggest problems for us because we were not able to lease, or we were not able to take loans and acquire aircraft for further expansion into the market. So that's why we would like to use that over our advantage. And as our finances are developing, we would like to take up loans and enter into new markets. So to conclude, I would like to say that our journey has been through ups and downs, and we had seen a lot of changes. We made a lot of changes and we learned through a lot. First, we implemented a strategy. We failed in it, but we learned from it, and the learnings that we applied in our next 4 quarters helped us to recover those 1.5 million. But still, the 200,000 does provide a very dark image for our company. So we would not like to call ourselves successful. We would like to call ourselves a failure.